If you're thinking my story makes me less credible, and some of you are, you're wrong. You're wrong. In education, your story is often the bridge that people need to get closer to you. If education sales has you second-guessing yourself, take a breath. This is a trust-first, relationship-driven market, and the old tactics, they don't translate. This show replaces guesswork with clarity and a customer acquisition system that builds a pipeline you can trust. I'm Josh Chernikoff, two-time education founder with 2 exits and a lead gen coach for companies in education. Through my Ed Sales Elevation experience over the last 2 years, I've coached 210 companies to leads on repeat. In 2025 alone, I delivered over 2,600 hours of coaching to education companies. My co-host is John Gamba. He also has a successful exit, and now he's the Director of Innovative Programs and the Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. This is the only show dedicated to customer acquisition for education companies, so consistent listeners go from stalled deals to clarity, credibility, and a pipeline they can rely on. This is Ed Sales Edge, where education company founders earn their edge. Welcome to another edition of the Ed Sales Edge. We're going to start taking a very deep dive into LinkedIn. So, get ready to get warmed up by LinkedIn. And I say that on purpose because it's cold outside. I'm recording this right now and it is snowing here in beautiful Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to bring you guys into my world and start by saying something very clearly. Okay? I did not start LinkedIn with 11,000 followers. I did not start LinkedIn getting 20 to 25 comments for most of my posts. And I definitely didn't start with momentum. And I'm sorry if I'm going a little slow here because I'm going back to the time when LinkedIn was really tough for me. I started exactly where most of you are. And I know where most of you are because I get a chance to coach people, of course, on lead generation. And part of what we do is leveraging LinkedIn in the education space. What I started doing was posting stories, ideas that I thought were thoughtful, and I heard nothing back. I was wondering if anybody out there was actually reading. And I was quietly actually thinking, I don't think education and LinkedIn mix very well. So if you're there right now, if LinkedIn is feeling slow, if you're feeling sluggish when doing LinkedIn and it feels pointless, I want you to know I've been there too. And today's episode is for that person who is doing the work and still thinking, am I doing anything? Because the honest truth is this, LinkedIn actually really does work in education, but only if you use the right mental model. LinkedIn works in education if you use the right mental model. So first, let me tell you, there was a stretch where I honestly questioned if the platform was right for education. Education is slow. Buyers don't really commit. They don't like posts, and they don't raise their hands quickly to say, I'd like to learn more. You probably know that very well. And it's very easy, especially when you see other people crushing it online, to decide it's the platform and not you. You start thinking, I'm not a content person. I don't have time for this. This is just another social media platform. My buyers aren't even here. And I get it, but instead of quitting, I actually made a different choice. I decided to stop treating LinkedIn like a social platform and started studying it like an educator. something feels fuzzy or momentum has stalled, it happens. I get it. Text me directly, 771-333-4233. I read all of the text messages. Back to the show. I decided to stop treating LinkedIn like a social platform and started studying it like an educator. And I made a shift. So I asked a different question. Not how do I get more engagement, but how do people actually behave here in LinkedIn world, especially in the education space? And that's when everything changed for me, because education is a trust market. Education is a trust market, and trust markets behave very differently. Tell me if this sounds familiar. In a trust market like we are in, people watch quietly. They track consistency. They look for alignment. They decide if you feel safe, which means if you're chasing visibility, you're playing the wrong game. So today I want to give you two mental models that actually made LinkedIn make sense for me and the 211 other companies we've worked with to date in the Ed Sales Elevation Experience, all education companies. Mental model number one, LinkedIn is a conference that never ends. I started thinking about LinkedIn as a conference that's happening all of the time. And if you've ever been to a real conference, you know this. You don't just show up once. You don't just give a talk and disappear. And you definitely don't walk in, pitch everyone, and expect trust. Before we keep going, a quick pause. Let's talk about credibility. You might not have an offer issue. You might have a credibility challenge. Text the word credibility to the number below. We will send you the exact same framework that we use, that our clients use, to ensure that our credibility walks into the room even before we do. That reduces buyer stress and leads to faster deals. Text the word credibility to the number below. At a conference, there are actually three places that matter. Number one, the stage. First, the stage. That's your content. That's your post. That's your point of view. This is where people hear how you think, how you talk about education, whether you actually understand the problems that schools face. And here's the key. You don't need to be loud on that stage. Never. You need to be clear on that stage. Always. Because clarity is credibility. Clarity is credibility. Number two, there's the sessions. The sessions, this is where you attend. This is where you listen. This is where you comment. You engage with other people's ideas, and this matters most to those people. And other people see that too. Thoughtful comments are how people start to recognize your name, even if you never post. Yeah, just go in there and comment. Maybe you don't need to post. A lot of you don't post every day, and that's fine. Just get into commenting. Then, number three, there's the hallways. This is where real trust actually forms. Quiet conversations, follow-ups, DMs with no pitch whatsoever. The hallways. Relationships that build over time and get stronger over time. The hallways. Those things happen in the hallways at a conference, and LinkedIn is the exact same. I want to talk about Dr. Tara Williams. She's a client of mine. She's a member of the Ed Sales Elevation Experience community. And let me bring this to life with her. Tara has the credentials. Okay? She has the doctor and the PhD. She built programs. She's built teams. She's built systems. She's the real friggin' deal. And she happens to be super awesome. But the moment her credibility really started to click wasn't when she added those letters to her name. Her credibility started when she stopped hiding the part of her story that she thought made her less credible. And Tara said something on the Ed Sales Edge that I'll never forget. Quote, "Your story doesn't weaken your authority, it completes it." I'll read it again. Your story doesn't weaken your authority, it completes it. That's the conference model right there, guys. Right there for you. On the stage, Tara didn't just talk about what she does, she talked about why she does it. Does that sound familiar? Simon Sinek. She struggled as a learner. She advocated for herself. And she has now become an advocate for neurodivergent students. That's her why. And here's what's amazing. Tara didn't just build credibility with the market. She actually built internal credibility first. What does that mean? She started posting consistently, speaking out loud. The reps made her more comfortable telling her story. If you're thinking my story makes me less credible, and some of you are, you're wrong. You're wrong. In education, your story is often the bridge that people need to get closer to you. Mental model number 2. LinkedIn is also a gym. Now, you don't go to the gym once a week and expect results. I hope not. You don't measure progress after one workout at the gym. I hope not. And you don't quit because no one noticed you were there. I hope not. You build reps, you show up when it's boring, you show up when it's quiet. You show up even when it feels like nothing is happening. That's how strength gets built. And the same is true at the LinkedIn gym. For me, at the LinkedIn gym, many years ago, that meant showing up 3 to 5 times a week. Some weeks that meant posting, some weeks that meant commenting, some weeks that meant conversations behind the scenes. Here's the important part. Posting or commenting, they both count. They really do. Showing up is the win. Remember, it's like a gym. Because in education, consistency is credibility. Now, let's talk about Paul King. Paul King is a client of mine, a friend of mine. For Paul, it was reps, then confidence, then action, then results. Paul said something in one of our coaching sessions that I think every education founder needs to tattoo on their brain. All right, maybe that's a little much. He said this, take the action, let go of the results. Take the action, let go of the results. That's a gym mindset if I've ever heard one, right? Paul also talked about something most founders miss. People are watching you and you may not know who they are. And that is so true for Paul, especially as he is growing his business in New York City. He said it straight. Many people lurk, they don't comment, they don't like, but they are watching. And in education, because of budget cycles and long timelines, this matters even more. People are watching you, and you may not know who they are. And then I asked him the real question: how long does it take to build trust in the market? Paul's answer was basically, in a few months, everything changed inside him. From nervous to bring on the next one. That is that gym mentality. Last interruption before we wrap this show. I want to remind you guys the Ed Sales Elevation Experience is where we help founders develop and design lead generation machines that bring in high quality, high converting leads for their education companies on repeat. Get more details in the show notes. Now, let's bring this show home. So here's the education reality when it comes to LinkedIn, guys. Education, again, is a trust market. Buyers, they watch very quietly. They remember how you show up. They remember when you show up. They begin to connect dots over time, dots that you don't even know that they're connecting. When I started to realize this, I know it's true for Paul and I know it's true for Tara, people started to reference posts that I would write months earlier. Posts that I thought nobody ever saw. Quiet doesn't mean invisible. Quiet means compounding. It is compounding. So if LinkedIn feels slow right now, that doesn't mean it isn't working. Talk to me, talk to Paul, talk to Tara. It probably means you're building trust the way education buyers actually needed to be built. Now, once you have accepted that LinkedIn is a long game, there's another trap you need to avoid. Because there's a lot of great LinkedIn advice out there. There's a lot of great LinkedIn advice out there. But not all of it works in education. And we're going to talk about this in another episode. So if you're getting spun around by LinkedIn advice and other gurus, we've got an episode on this. For now, we're talking about mental models. It's like a conference. It's like a gym. So if you're feeling sluggish right now, work on the mental model and those physical results will follow. I'm here to help. I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. I'm your friend. I've been there. I've got you. Let me help you in the LinkedIn gym and conference journey. All right, that's it for this episode of the Ed Sales Edge. Thanks for joining us. If you sell into education, the goal of this show is very simple: to help you stop guessing what actually moves deals in a system where trust matters. If you want to go deeper, join us inside the Entourage, our private community for education founders and operators selling into schools. You'll see the details in the show notes. If this episode helped you think more clearly, that's great. Subscribe, like it, and share it with another founder in the education space. Until next time, get clear, build trust.